Well, thanks for tuning into the market wrap. And you would have to say that a bit of a disappointing close compared to how the day started. But it was, anyways, not supposed to be a day where the benchmarks would do well. It was supposed to be a day when the mid caps and small caps in particular could do well. Now, well, they did. And I reckon that the market bit will show you that. But let me first very quickly enumerate what happened to the large caps. So they came off in the second half of trade, you have to admit, and which is why we ended about 0.21% lower. Now, what IT did is separate, and I'll get to that. First, let's start with the losers, and something's bugging Bharti Airtel. We know that there's this FTSE rebalancing that is due on the 18th, but that selling is about $180 million, nothing too dramatic. This stock, when the AGR judgment came out, the stock was at about 550. From there, it slid all the way to 470. Is this because of the fact that it's no longer going to be a two-player market, but three-player market? Maybe. But I think Bharti Airtel has some issues. BPCL was the other one which came off quite rapidly today for all the fanfare that it showed a few days ago. BP came off. SBI had a bad day today. So those are a few. But the man of the match, and therefore the sector of the day, has to be IT by virtue of what HCL Tech did, which is give a mid-quarter guidance uptick. And it is in these times where you believe that if a sector is coming out and saying that, hey, we are going to do better than what we had guided for, the street would like it. So HCL Tech, and I'm sure Nickey will talk more about it in detail, because frankly, that is that one stock that is worth talking about. It brought a cheer in all the other IT names as well, as a result of which 5 out of the top 6 names are IT names. Imagine what happens when Root Mobile and Happiest Minds list as well. I think the flavor around the whole of IT space has improved. Mid caps, very quickly. I mean, there's not too much to choose. So I'll just briefly give you a flavor. I mean, just the market breadth and the fact that the clutch of these stocks went up. Specialty chemicals, names, IT, mid cap IT. Look at Persistent Systems, about 14% higher. So that's essentially what happened as far as the space today goes. Almost everything did really well. Anything which was even remotely good did very well. A few stocks disappointed. Metals came off. Hindustan Zinc, for example, came off as well. Avenue Supermarts came off a little bit. But those were few and far in between. But Nickey, let's get you in this conversation. And good afternoon or good evening to you. And it was a stellar day for somebody who's watching at the broader end of the spectrum, simply because the stocks massive gains on very good volumes.
Yeah, clearly stock specific moves out there, and IT stocks particularly stole the show out there. HCL Technologies, which came up with the revenue guidance early in the morning, led to an euphoria which was sensed across the entire sector. Be it Tech Mahindra, Wipro, all of them rallied. HCL Technologies mid-quarter update, it said that the September quarter revenue and the margins are going to be better than the guidance, and that's going to be better than what the top end of the guidance is, which was provided back in the quarter. July 2020, revenue growth for the September quarter is expected to exceed a 3.5, kind of growth Q on Q on constant currency basis. And of course, the EBIT margin is expected to be nearly between a 20.5 to 21%, which is way higher than what the estimates or what the earlier guidance is, clearly, which led to a rally coming in for IT stocks. What also is interesting was the way exchange stocks performed. BSE, of course, rose as much as 5% in trade today, and it's interesting to see how after the SEBI, circular, which tweaked the multi-cap rules, in which led to an increment, which is expected to rather lead to an somewhat to an account of incremental rally coming in on the small cap and the mid cap stock. That is also working well for the exchanges. I mean, Indian exchange, Indian Energy Exchange also rallied as much as 8.9%. MCX Commodity Exchange out there also witnessed some sense of euphoria out there, rallied for third consecutive session, and in today's session, it was up by as much as 13% Other bit of rally was witnessed in real estate stocks, Prestige Estate, and something in the likes of Sobha Limited. All of these stocks rallied rather than trade today. Macquarie came up with a report earlier in the day and said that at this point of time, though the outlook for the office market remains to be a little uncertain, but then it's good over a medium term. At this point of time, they might just witness the supply actually is expected to go down by as much as 30 to 40%, given the kind of tight liquidity for small developers. So that in turn augurs well for the entire industry as a whole, which is witnessing sort of consolidation at this point of time. And last and not the least in the list, I have PVR. I'm going to be talking about it yet again. The numbers are yet to come out for this counter, and this counter has rallied as much as 4.5% to 5% in trade today. More than the numbers, we'll actually watch out for commentary because it'll provide a sense of how the occupancy rates would go moving forward, whether or not the viewers at this point of time or the investors at this point of time can expect the theaters to open anytime soon. There were a couple of reports which were floating around that theaters are not going to open up for this entire financial year, but clearly what the management has to say on this will hold the key. Back to you, Niraj.
Yeah, Nickey, thanks for that. It certainly would be important. Yeah, there's some market report this morning about how theaters might stay shut for the calendar, but no veracity or no way that we can kind of confirm or deny that. But Nickey, thanks so much. That sums up some of the key movers in session today as well. Very interesting move by some of those exchange names and some specialty chemical names as well. Just very quickly bring up what the rest of the world markets are doing. And as long as they are not doing something untoward, the broader end of the spectrum might have a decent outing in tomorrow's session too. You never know. But as we speak, Europe flattish, so nothing too dramatic, and U.S. markets also not having as bad futures day. At least the Dow futures, whatever I remember seeing, is okay. So net, we might have an okay start tomorrow too. And the broader markets, at least stocks which have rallied about 14-15%, may not necessarily on the day like that. It just shows that there would be some interest in quality mid caps and maybe quality small caps, and people could look at them as long as the view is slightly long term. But Nickey, thanks so much, and viewers, from Nickey, myself, and the team that has put this piece together. Thank you so much for tuning into the Market Wrap.